The moment her hand yanked my turban, the cabin gasped. I froze, my heart slamming so loud I swore everyone could hear it. She shrieked, "It's blocking my view of the TV," while holding my sacred cloth like some trophy. God, I still feel the sting in my scalp. Airplanes aren't quiet places to begin with. The hum of the engines, the chatter of passengers, the occasional ding of the seatbelt sign. But after that, the sound shifted. It wasn't noise anymore. It was judgment, disbelief. The raw hiss of humanity shocked awake. Someone whispered, "Did she just? Oh my God." I tried to breathe. I really did. Inhale, exhale. But it felt like the entire pressurized cabin was collapsing on me. My turban wasn't just fabric. It was my identity, my faith, my father's voice telling me as a boy, "This is who you are, son. Wear it with pride." And now, it dangled from Karen's clenched fist like a rag. "Ma'am, you need to give that back." I heard the flight attendant snap, her voice cracking under the chaos. "Karen." She puffed up like a cartoon villain. "I paid for a window seat and I will not be blocked by someone's hat thing." She waved her arms, her bracelets clinking, her voice piercing the narrow fuselage like broken glass. People shifted in their seats. A kid gasped. An older man muttered, "Unbelievable." Somewhere behind me, a phone clicked on. Someone was recording. My scalp burned where she'd ripped it. I whispered, almost to myself, "It's not a hat. It's my turban." My throat tightened. Should I shout back? Should I stand? Or should I stay still and let this humiliation eat me alive? No, not today. "Give it back," I said, louder this time, my voice shaking but steadying. "Now." She actually laughed. "Oh please, you're being dramatic. Look, now I can see the screen just fine." And she sat there, smug, dropping my turban onto the floor like trash. Something in me cracked then. Not anger, not yet, but this deep, guttural disbelief. My father's words came back. The weight of respect. The years of explaining to strangers what this cloth means. And in 1 second, this woman shredded all of it in front of 200 silent witnesses. The flight attendant bent down, picked up the turban carefully, almost reverently, and handed it to me. Her lips trembled. "I am so sorry, sir." "But Karen." She rolled her eyes so hard I swear I could hear them. "Don't apologize to him. Apologize to me for having to endure this obstruction." And then, God help me, she screamed, like full volume, horror movie scream. "He's threatening me." The whole cabin erupted. People shouted. "What? No, he didn't. Lady, you're insane." The sound was a storm, voices overlapping, the metallic ding as a passenger dropped a can, the nervous cry of a baby who sensed the tension. Me, I froze again, because I knew exactly where this was headed. Brown skin, turban, airport, security, accusations, the old cycle. "Threatening you," I whispered. "I haven't even." My voice died in my throat. Karen clutched her chest like she was in a soap opera. "He lunged at me for no reason. I'm scared for my life." Lunged. Someone barked a laugh. A man across the aisle stood up. Phone raised. "Lady, I've been recording since you touched his turban. Sit down before you embarrass yourself more." The look on her face. That split-second twitch when she really realized. She was being watched, recorded, judged. But she doubled down. Of course she did. "You all saw it," she cried, scanning the cabin like she was searching for backup. "You saw him threaten me." Silence. Just the engines roaring. Steady and merciless. No one backed her. A few people shook their heads. Someone muttered, "Crazy." And that silence. It was louder than her scream. The captain's voice crackled over the speaker. Calm but clipped. Ladies and gentlemen, we've been alerted to a disturbance in the cabin. We'll be landing shortly and authorities will meet the aircraft. Remain seated. Authorities. My stomach dropped. Here it comes. Karen smirked like she'd already won. She whispered just loud enough for me to hear. You're going to regret sitting near me. But oh, she had no idea. The man with the phone. He wasn't just some random passenger. He turned out to be a lawyer. Yeah. A civil rights attorney. Of all things. On his way to a conference. And he had the whole thing on video. Every frame. Every word. When we landed, blue lights flashed against the oval windows, washing the cabin in cold color. The hiss of the air brakes sounded like judgment. My palms sweated. I kept thinking, please don't let this turn into handcuffs. Please. Not again. Cops boarded. Their boots heavy on the narrow aisle. Karen shot her hand up like a kid in school. Officers. Over here. It's him. He threatened me. She pointed at me like she was summoning an execution. My heart stopped. But before they even reached me, half the cabin erupted. People shouted. No, he didn't. Check the video. Arrest her. Not him. And then the lawyer, God bless him, stood tall and played the video, the sound echoing in the tense cabin. Karen ripping off my turban. Karen screaming. Karen lying. The cops froze. One glanced at the screen, then at her. His jaw tightened. Ma'am, you need to come with us. Her jaw dropped so wide I thought it might hit the tray table. What? No. The lawyer's voice cut through like a blade. Everything's on video. You assaulted him, then made a false report. I'll make sure this goes where it needs to. Her shriek was almost comical now. High-pitched. Desperate. You're all ganging up on me. This is reverse discrimination. Oh, the irony. Passengers booed. Booed. On a plane. Strangers united not by choice but by outrage. Some clapped when the cops finally cuffed her. Her bracelets jangling against cold steel. Me. I just sat there, clutching my turban to my chest. My scalp still throbbed. My dignity bruised but intact. The lawyer patted my shoulder. You're safe, brother. She's the one in trouble now. I exhaled so hard it felt like I'd been holding my breath for years. Karen screamed all the way down the aisle, her voice fading as they dragged her off. This isn't over. You'll all regret this. But it was over. For her. At least. Later. In the terminal. The lawyer stayed with me. He made sure I filed a report. Gave me his card. Don't let them sweep this under the rug, he said. People like her count on silence. I nodded. My hands still shook. But inside, a strange calm spread. Because for once, just once, the system didn't swallow me whole. For once, witnesses stood up. For once, the lie collapsed before it could grow teeth. And the twist. A week later, her face was everywhere. Viral videos. News headlines. Passenger arrested after assaulting Sikh man on plane. Turns out, she wasn't just some random woman. She was vice president of the Homeowners Association board in her suburb. The irony again. The same board notorious online for harassing minority homeowners. She lost her position. She faced charges. And the internet tore her apart. Sometimes karma doesn't whisper. Sometimes it kicks the door open mid-flight and drags the villain right off the plane. And me. I tied my turban again. Carefully. Reverently. Whispering a thank you to my father. The fabric felt heavier somehow. But stronger too. Because dignity, once reclaimed, weighs more than any insult. So what do you think? Was this justice served? Or just a lucky break? Drop your thoughts in the comments. Thank you for listening and don't forget to subscribe to the channel for more stories like this. I never thought I'd witness something this ugly in broad daylight. A peaceful Sunday morning. Kids on swings. Birds chirping in the oak trees. And then out of nowhere, a scream that sliced through the park like glass shattering. "Speak English. This is America." The words came from a woman in oversized sunglasses, clutching a tiny Pomeranian like a weapon. That was Karen, our HOA's self-appointed queen of order. At first, I thought it was another one of her petty tirades about dogs off-leash or picnic tables being for residents only. But this time, she had locked her eyes on a young mom sitting on the grass, speaking Spanish into her phone while her little boy chased a soccer ball. The mom laughed gently, tucking her hair behind her ear, completely unaware that a storm was rolling her way. Karen stormed closer, heels clicking against the pavement, her voice growing louder. "We don't tolerate illegals in our neighborhood park." Her words were venom, dripping with every ounce of superiority she thought she had. People nearby froze, stunned, disgusted, unsure if this was really happening in front of their kids. My chest tightened. I felt heat rising to my face. Oh God, was she really about to do this? The immigrant mom lowered her phone, her brow furrowed in confusion. She responded, soft but steady, "Excuse me. I live here. Please leave me alone." Her accent was thick, but her dignity was sharper than steel. That only fueled Karen's rage. She lunged forward, yanking the stroller beside the woman and shaking it. The baby inside wailed instantly. Gasps erupted across the park. "No. You don't get to raise kids here while draining our homeowners association funds." Karen spat. She tried pulling at the stroller again. That's when everything broke loose. Bystanders rushed in. Two dads from the basketball court. A teenager with headphones. An older woman with a sun hat. Voices layered over each other. "Stop it. Get your hands off her. Lady, are you insane?" One dad shoved himself between Karen and the mom, arms wide like a shield. The immigrant mom clutched her baby, shaking but unbroken. Karen, red-faced and wild-eyed, screamed, "I'm calling ICE. Right now." She whipped out her phone and began stabbing at the screen with manicured nails. The crowd turned ugly, but not in the way Karen expected. A teenage boy muttered, loud enough for everyone to hear, "Fine. We'll call 2. Let's see who ICE picks up." His sarcasm cut like a knife. Several people pulled out their phones. Not to film, not just to document, but to actually dial. "I'm calling 911. "Yeah, me too." ICE needs to hear about her threatening families in a public park. Karen froze. She had expected cheers, backup, validation. Instead, she was surrounded by cold, judging stares and a chorus of clicks and rings as phones connected. Her power crumbled like sand under her feet. Wait, no, you don't understand." She stammered, clutching her Pomeranian tighter as if it could save her. "I'm protecting my community. She doesn't belong here." But the truth was, the immigrant mom had more paperwork tying her to the community than Karen ever did. And here's the twist. One of the dads calling 911 was an off-duty immigration lawyer. His voice was calm, razor sharp. "Yes, officer. We have an assault in progress. Homeowners Association board member attacking a mother and threatening to misuse ICE enforcement. Yes, we need immediate response." Karen's jaw dropped. You're calling the police on me." Her voice cracked with disbelief. "On you?" "Yes." The lawyer's tone was flat. "You just put hands on a child." The immigrant mom began to cry, silent tears streaking her cheeks. Not from weakness but from the overwhelming weight of humiliation. Her son wrapped his arms around her, whispering in Spanish, "Mama, it's okay. Don't cry." And damn, that whisper carried more strength than all of Karen's screams. Minutes stretched like hours. The park felt suspended, every breath sharp, every sound amplified. A siren wailed in the distance. Growing closer, Karen paced, muttering under her breath, trying to convince herself she was still in control. But her face betrayed panic. Sweat glistening on her forehead, lips trembling. When the squad car finally pulled up, you could hear the collective exhale of the crowd. Relief. Justice incoming. 2 officers stepped out, scanning the scene. The lawyer immediately raised his hand, explaining everything with cool precision. Several witnesses chimed in, each account slicing another thread from Karen's shaky defense. And Karen, she pointed at the immigrant mom, shouting, "She's illegal. She attacked me." The officer blinked slowly, then turned back to the crowd. "Anyone here see this woman attacked?" Heads shook unanimously. The sun hat lady stepped forward, voice trembling but firm. "I saw you shaking that baby's stroller. I saw you screaming slurs. You terrified half the park." Her words landed like gavel strikes. The officers asked for IDs. The immigrant mom produced her wallet with shaking hands. Inside, a resident card gleaming like a silent rebuke to every lie Karen had spewed. The officers nodded, handed it back respectfully. Karen fumbled in her purse, stalling, then muttered, "I don't carry mine to the park. I don't need to prove." "Ma'am," one officer cut in. "Step aside. We need to speak with you." That was the breaking point. Karen snapped. She wailed, voice shrill enough to pierce glass. "You're arresting the wrong person. She's the problem, not me." She tried to bolt, heels skidding against the concrete. But the crowd instinctively closed ranks. She was trapped in a ring of neighbors, every pair of eyes burning with disgust. When the cuffs clicked around her wrists, the park erupted, not in applause, but in stunned silence. The sound of the metal snapping shut was louder than fireworks. The Pomeranian barked frantically, dangling in her arms as officers guided her toward the car. She shrieked, twisted, tried to wriggle free, but it was over. "Wait until the Homeowners Association hears about this," she screamed. But oh, the irony. Half the Homeowners Association board was standing right there in the park, watching in shame. The immigrant mom sat trembling on the bench, clutching her son, whispering soft Spanish words of comfort. Strangers knelt beside her, offering water, tissues, gentle smiles. One by one, people apologized, not for themselves, but for what she had endured. I stood frozen, heart pounding. The twist of fate was brutal. Karen had tried to weaponize ICE against a woman she despised for speaking her native language, and in the end, ICE and 911 both had her name recorded for assault, harassment, and hate intimidation. The very system she worshipped had turned on her. That's karma with teeth. As the squad car pulled away, a teenager with a skateboard muttered under his breath, "Guess she finally got deported." From the park, a ripple of nervous laughter rolled across the grass. Not joy, not cruelty, just release. Relief that someone so toxic was finally removed. But the story didn't end there. Word spread. Videos surfaced. Multiple angles. High definition. Voices clear as day. By evening, the clips had gone viral. Headlines screamed across social feeds. Homeowners Association board member arrested after attacking immigrant mom in park. And here's the kicker. The Homeowners Association, desperate to salvage its image, held an emergency meeting. They expelled Karen from her position, citing gross misconduct and community endangerment. She wasn't just embarrassed. She was stripped of every ounce of power she once lorded over us. The immigrant mom. She stood taller in the weeks that followed. Neighbors rallied around her, organizing playdates, fundraisers, and a petition demanding safer, more inclusive homeowners association policies. She became a quiet symbol of strength, A woman who endured hate and saw her tormentor crumble before the whole town. And me. I still replay that scream in my head sometimes. The way Karen's voice cracked when she realized the crowd wasn't on her side. The way the baby's cry drowned out her hate. The way the sirens closed in like a soundtrack of justice. That's the sound I'll never forget. So tell me, when hate meets its own mirror, when cruelty finally eats itself alive, is that justice, or just the beginning of what we all should have done sooner? Thanks for listening, and don't forget to hit that subscribe button on my YouTube for more stories where karma finally bites back. I heard the scream through the wall. It wasn't loud, but it was sharp like glass cracking under pressure. My neighbor, Mrs. Gaines, was on the phone, sobbing and shouting at the same time. "The call won't go through. My husband's collapsed." My stomach dropped. I shot up from my chair, my laptop still warm on my legs. I'm not easily rattled, but this was bad. The 911 line wasn't working, and I already had a feeling who was behind it. The HOA president, Karen, isn't even her name, but that's what everyone calls her. Real name's Linda Cartwright, but you say Karen in this neighborhood and every kid, dog, and overwatered hydrangea knows exactly who you mean. She's the type who thinks her clipboard gives her divine authority. The type who peeks through blinds at 3 a.m. just to write up a citation for unauthorized porch lighting. But this time she went way too far. 2 days earlier, I overheard her yelling at the city contractor near the front gate. I didn't think much of it, just more noise from her usual routine. But now I remembered her exact words. "These boxes are ugly and unsafe. I'll just shut the damn thing down myself if no one listens." At the time, I thought she was bluffing. She wasn't. Turns out the ugly box she was so furious about was a fiber line junction point connected directly to the local emergency response network for our district. Our HOA compound was situated weirdly, a patch of semi-remote land just outside city limits, but technically hosting a satellite 911 routing center. They'd put the junction inside our gated community years ago for faster access to nearby zones. And now it was offline. What kind of person cuts 911 access over an aesthetic tantrum? I didn't have time to yell or cry about it. I ran out the door barefoot, sprinting across our manicured lawn like I was in boot camp again. I banged on Mrs. Gaines' door and shouted, "I'm taking over, stay with him." Then I bolted back to my house. I'm no ordinary civilian. I used to manage comms for military counterintelligence. When you're trained to reroute tactical traffic under enemy fire, setting up emergency redundancy in a suburban neighborhood is like child's play. My house has its own uplink. Hidden in my garage is a secured, portable satellite array, totally legal, totally operational, and mostly forgotten since I retired. Until now. As I powered it up, my fingers were trembling, not from fear, but fury. Karen had no idea what kind of mistake she'd just made. Within 6 minutes, I had patched an encrypted emergency channel directly to the county's alternate dispatch network. That part was easy. The hard part? Getting the system to believe I wasn't a hostile actor spoofing a connection. It took my old credentials, a bypass token from my former commanding officer who I had to wake up at 4 a.m. and a hastily signed digital affidavit. All while poor Mr. Gaines was on the edge of a fatal cardiac arrest. But we got through. The moment I saw connection confirmed, emergency traffic active, flash across my screen, I let out a breath I didn't know I was holding. Yes, come on, come on. Minutes later, I heard the wail of Sirence's sweet, beautiful sound that sliced through the humid dawn air like salvation. Mr. Gaines made it. Barely. And that should have been the end, right? Wrong. Because Karen Deere, obsessive, tyrannical Karen, had the audacity to storm into my yard, while the paramedics were still loading Mr. Gaines into the ambulance. "What do you think you're doing?" she shrieked, face red and puffed like a toddler denied ice cream. "That equipment is unauthorized. It's a violation of HOA Policy 4.8 regarding visible antennas." I blinked at her. "You cut the line to 911, Linda. It was a visual blight," she barked, waving her hand at the fiber box down the street. "No one told me it was connected to anything important." I actually laughed. Couldn't help it. The absurdity was just too much. You mean you didn't bother to ask? You ripped the panel off with bolt cutters, Karen. There's security footage. That shut her up. For a second. Then came the barrage. You people are always undermining authority. This neighborhood needs order. My voice dropped to a deadly calm. You endangered lives. You almost killed someone. If I hadn't had military-grade hardware in my garage, Mr. Gaines would be dead right now. And this isn't just an HOA fine situation. This is federal interference with emergency services. Her face went ghost white. You're bluffing. Wanna bet? 2 hours later, I sent the entire incident package including footage of her tampering with the line, my authenticated emergency response log, and a timeline of medical impact of the FCC, Homeland Security, and the State Public Safety Commission. Guess who showed up 3 days later? Federal agents. In dark suits. With questions. And Karen, well, she cracked faster than a dry twig under a boot heel. Turns out this wasn't her first stunt. She'd pulled similar nonsense back in her previous HOA, ripping out traffic signage, forcing contractors to dig up telecom lines that bothered her dogs, even threatening postal workers over the ugly design of their vans. How she kept getting elected president. Manipulation, mostly. She played nice with the right board retirees, handed out cookies at meetings, then slowly seized every inch of control. But not this time. This time she messed with the wrong neighbor. And the fallout was glorious. HOA emergency meeting. Full attendance. Karen didn't even show she was still being questioned by investigators. I stood up, explained what happened, showed receipts. The room went silent when I said the words. 911 traffic was blocked for over 30 minutes because of an aesthetic complaint. People were furious, especially the older folks, the ones who actually need fast emergency response. A motion to remove Karen as president passed unanimously. A second motion to permanently ban her from holding any board position again passed with applause. But the cherry on top. Oh, just wait. Turns out that by routing emergency data through my military channel, a few command line anomalies pinged up the chain. Nothing bad, just flags saying, unusual civilian sector traffic with valid clearance keys. Which meant my old commander got curious. He reached out to me directly, said, "We've been looking for people with your exact skills. You still have it. Come work with us, remote role, high security. Good pay." I blinked. "You're offering me a job? Because of Karen?" He laughed. "Let's just say we're turning one HOA disaster into a national win."
Jack đã nói.
I accepted the offer. Not because I missed the thrill of tactical ops or encrypted comm lines, but because I knew people like Karen weren't just isolated cases. There are Karens everywhere. Ones with just enough power and just enough ignorance to cause real harm. And the system doesn't always catch up to them unless someone like me makes noise. The fallout didn't end with her removal from the HOA board. The state launched a formal investigation into her past HOA dealings, digging into records from 3 different neighborhoods. The federal report confirmed her tampering had deliberately interfered with emergency response infrastructure, triggering not just administrative sanctions but a full-blown civil lawsuit. Mr. Gaines' family filed the first one. Then the city filed their own. Then the telecom company followed suit. In total, she's facing 4 lawsuits, and possibly more once the investigation into her past HOA presidencies wraps up. One of the agents told me quietly, "This could get criminal if intent to disable infrastructure is proven." Her face hasn't been seen in the neighborhood since. No lawn chair policing, no condescending flyers on doors, no HOA newsletters signed in cursive like she's the queen of suburbia. But me, I'm still here. My lawn's a little wild now, and my satellite dish still pokes out from the garage roof like a silent middle finger to everything she stood for. Sometimes I sit outside with a cup of black coffee and just breathe. Listen to the birds. Watch the neighborhood kids ride bikes without getting screamed at for unauthorized driveway usage. I've become the guy people call when things go sideways, not just for tech stuff, but for fairness, balance, justice. They knock on my door with questions, ask for advice, even bring cookies. It's ironic. I never wanted to be involved in HOA politics. But when someone tries to turn order into oppression, and rules into weapons, you have to push back. You have to know when to speak, when to act, and when to say, no more. So here's my advice to anyone dealing with a Karen in power. Keep your receipts. Learn the rules. Beat them at their own game. And when the time comes, then just fight back. Win. Because nothing hits harder than a lawful, well-documented, digitally time-stamped, federal-grade reversal. Oh, and if you want more real-life stories like this one, where karma shows up with a lawsuit and a badge, subscribe to my YouTube channel. You won't believe what happened next. The smell hit me first sharp, metallic, almost like a burned-out battery. I froze mid-step, holding my breath as I walked past the neighborhood pool, the one where all the kids gathered every Saturday. Then I saw it. A line of plastic barrels, half hidden under a tarp near the fence, each one with peeling hazard symbols screaming, toxic. Who in their right mind would store banned chemicals right next to where children swam? And then it clicked. Karen and her sister. You know the type. The Karen sisters, as everyone called them, one blonde, one brunette, both permanently scowling like life owed them free manicures and eternal control over the HOA. They'd been the self-appointed rule enforcers for years, but breaking actual laws? Oh, this was a new level of stupid. My jaw clenched. I could almost hear my heartbeat pounding in my ears. Was I really seeing this? Was this real? I crouched closer, pulling back the tarp just enough to read the warning labels. Methyl something something flammable. Dangerous. My stomach turned. It wasn't just bleach or pool cleaner. This was industrial-grade stuff. And the worst part? The pool was buzzing with kids laughing, splashing, their parents lounging nearby without a clue. Oh, hell no, I muttered. This wasn't just careless. This was criminal. Of course, the minute I confronted them, it went exactly how I expected. Karen, let's call her Blonde Karen, crossed her arms. Chin tilted so high I thought her neck might snap. It's none of your business, she said, her voice dripping with that fake sweet tone she used whenever she wanted to sound reasonable. None of my? Are you serious? There are kids playing not 10 feet away, and you've got barrels of God knows what's sitting here like a time bomb. I shot back. Karen, the brunette, rolled her eyes. You're overreacting. It's just some cleaning supplies. We run this HOA. We know what we're doing. I almost laughed. Cleaning supplies? Lady, these barrels look like something you'd find in a meth lab. Her face twisted. Excuse me. How dare you accuse us of something like that? And just like that, the shouting started. Parents started noticing. Heads turned. A mother grabbed her toddler from the pool and whispered, "What's going on?" I could feel the tension building like static in the summer air. But then, something inside me shifted. Why argue with people who don't even know they're drowning in their own arrogance? I took a breath, pulled out my phone, and smiled. You know what? I don't have to argue with you. I have someone who would love to hear about this. You should have seen their faces when I said, "My sister is a fire marshal." Their smug expressions flickered just for a second, just enough for me to know they were scared. And why wouldn't they be? My sister, Mia, doesn't play games when it comes to safety. The minute I called her, I could hear the fire siren echo in her voice. Where? She asked. No hesitation, no small talk. Neighborhood pool, I said, my words quick and sharp. They've got industrial chemicals right next to kids. I'm not kidding. It's bad, Mia. Stay there, she said. And then click. She was on her way. I turned to the Karen sisters, who were whispering furiously to each other now. I couldn't help but grin. You have about 10 minutes to explain why you're hoarding banned chemicals before a fire marshal gets here. Good luck with that. Oh, you're bluffing, Blonde Karen sneered. Am I? I asked, tilting my phone so they could see the text Mia had just sent. ETA 7 minutes. Backup coming. Their faces drained of color. Oh, this is going to be good. 7 minutes felt like forever. But when Mia's red truck came around the corner, lights flashing, the energy in the air just snapped. She stepped out in her gear helmet, jacket, gloves, and she didn't even glance at me first. She went straight to the barrels, reading the labels like a soldier scanning a battlefield. Then she turned, slow and deadly calm, toward the Karens. "Who owns these?" she asked, her voice like steel. Karen stammered. We do. But it's not. Do you have a permit for storing hazardous materials near a public pool?" Mia cut her off. "It's not hazardous. It's just, do you have permit?" Mia's tone could have sliced glass. Karen, for once, had nothing to say. Just silence. I swear you could hear a pin drop. Parents were backing up now, gathering their kids, some even filming with their phones. Oh, it was going viral, no question. "Step away from the barrels," Mia ordered. "Now." And then came the twist I didn't expect. When Mia popped the lid of one barrel, a sharp, nauseating smell hit everyone in the area. People started coughing. Even I had to step back, covering my nose. "This isn't just illegal," Mia said, looking up at the sisters with an expression that made my spine tingle. "This is a fire hazard. If one spark hit this, your whole HOA would be ash in 10 seconds. The Karens started babbling excuses. "We didn't know. It was on sale. We were just trying to clean the pool." But Mia wasn't having it. She pulled out her radio and called in the hazmat team. The hazmat team. The look on Karen's face? Priceless. Like someone had just told her Starbucks was permanently closing. "You can't do this," blonde Karen shouted, her voice cracking. "This is private property." Mia raised an eyebrow. "Public safety trumps your HOA nonsense. And, by the way, you violated about 7 state laws by keeping these here. I could arrest you right now." I almost clapped. I almost screamed, "Yes!" like it was the finale of some reality TV show. Instead, I leaned against the fence, arms crossed, watching their empire crumble. "Do you know how expensive it is to remove these chemicals?" Karen whined, panic creeping into her tone. "Oh, I know," Mia said, deadly calm. "And guess who's going to pay for every cent? Not the HOAU." There was a long, delicious pause. The Karens just stared at her, jaws hanging open like stunned fish. By the time the hazmat truck arrived, the whole neighborhood had gathered. People were whispering, filming, even cheering under their breath. The Karens tried to save face, but every word they said made them look worse. Someone yelled, "What about the kids, Karen?" And the crowd erupted with angry murmurs. I swear, watching them get cornered like that was better than any movie. Mia didn't even glance at them as she directed the hazmat crew. "Seal the barrels. Get samples. Document everything," she ordered, like the pro she was. Then she turned to me with a little smirk. "Nice catch, sis." "Thanks," I said, still buzzing from the adrenaline. "What's going to happen to them?" "Oh, fines. Legal action. Possibly even criminal charges, depending on what's inside those barrels." "They're finished," she said matter-of-factly. The Karens were pale now, whispering to each other like cornered rats. I almost felt sorry for them. Almost. But then Karen snapped at me. "This is your fault. You had to call your sister and ruin everything." I tilted my head and smiled. "Ruin everything? Sweetheart, I just saved this entire neighborhood from your stupidity. You should be thanking me." She glared at me, but there was nothing left for her to say. Karen tried one last desperate move, her voice trembling as she spat out, "You'll hear from our lawyer. This is harassment." It would have been funny if it wasn't so pathetic. The crowd actually laughed. A guy near the back shouted, "Good luck with that lawsuit, Karen." The sisters froze, humiliated. Their power, those smug looks, their fake authority was gone in a flash, like someone had ripped the crown off their heads and tossed it into the gutter. Mia didn't even flinch. "File all the lawsuits you want. Nothing changes the fact that you broke the law and endangered children." Her voice was calm, unshakable, the kind of voice that leaves no room for argument. "If anything, you'll be digging yourselves deeper." The sisters stared at her like two cats caught in the rain, unsure whether to hiss or run. As the hazmat crew sealed up the last barrel, a hush fell over the crowd. One mother, clutching her little boy's hand, stepped forward. "Thank you," she said to Mia, her voice breaking. "I can't believe they put our kids at risk like this." Mia just nodded, but I could see the pride flicker in her eyes. She'd done more than her job to saved this neighborhood from a nightmare. The Karens tried to sneak away, but by then, it was too late. A man from the HOA board blocked their path. "You two have disgraced this entire community," he said, his tone sharp as a knife. "The board will be reviewing your membership, and trust me, you're not walking away from this clean." The sisters' faces twisted in shock. This was the moment they realized they weren't just losing a battle with Methy, were losing their own empire. I stood there, arms crossed, soaking in the scene like the final frame of a perfect movie. "So," I said almost casually, "do you still think it was none of my business?" Karen looked like she wanted to scream, but the words stuck in her throat. Karen just shook her head, muttering something about unfairness. But no one cared anymore. Their reign was over. Later, Mia and I sat on the tailgate of her truck, watching the sun sink low and the hazmat team drive away. "You know," I said with a sigh, "karma really does have a twisted sense of humor." Mia smirked. "Sometimes karma needs a little nudge. Today, that was you." I couldn't stop smiling. The neighborhood was buzzing with gratitude. People I'd barely spoken to were thanking me, shaking my hand. And the Karens? Word spread fast that they'd been fined thousands, and a lawsuit from the city's fire safety department was already in motion. Oh, the irony, they wanted to threaten me with lawsuits, but now they were the ones drowning in legal trouble. "Guess the Karens finally met their match," I said softly, almost to myself. Mia chuckled, starting her truck. "Let's just hope they learn something." But knowing them, I doubt it. And that's how a pair of self-proclaimed queens of the HOA lost everything to their own arrogance, while my sister, the fire marshal, shut them down with the law itself. Want more stories where karma hits harder than any lawsuit? Subscribe to my YouTube channel and never miss the next jaw-dropping showdown.